You will see this video when a setback hits life. But before that, let's take an example of a runner. A runner who has been a 15-year-old guy. He dreams about winning the Olympics. He goes on his entire life to move towards that one single goal is in his mind to win the Olympic gold medal for his country, for his parents, make her parents proud, make his country proud, and he'll do anything. Alright, he goes ahead, he works day and night, he sacrifices those weekends, he sacrifices those friends with his party, he sacrifices his entire childhood, his entire adulthood to go for one dream that was to run in Olympics. Guess what? He gets selected. He gets into the Olympic final run, he is participating for his country, and then suddenly he decides, tomorrow is my race, so today I should chill. And so he is just eating his food, and next day he suffers from food poison. And now he has a very vast or very worst, what can I say? He has the baddest stomachache. And he has been just catching onto his stomach and thinking he's about entire journey, his entire life. That he has worked for the single goal. And was it a crime? Was it his fault that he ate some food yesterday from that place where he was staying? Is it really his fault? And he sets back. Now, is this setback really a luck thing? Is it really your handy thing? And how does this setback genuinely work? So, I'm not talking about failures. Failures are the moments where you make a mistake and you try to solve them, according to me. And setbacks are the things where you have gone through failures and success. You've gone through that up and down journey, and just before succeeding, you fell down. So it was this graph, and then suddenly this way, just a point before you can succeed. And you had literally no fault. You worked day and night, you did everything you could possibly do. It feels like the universe is laughing at you. It feels like there's this God thing above your head that doesn't want you to win. It's like you literally have bad luck attached to yourself. And how do we come out of it? Because setbacks are really not in your head. And that's why I came up with this 3-step procedure that you have to follow if you really want to reboot your life and get out of that setback journey. The first thing is stop crying, stop bleeding. Whenever when you get a cut, let's for example say I got a cut in my hand right here. The first thing that people around me will do is try to get a very tightened cloth wrapped around my bicep very tightly so that it blocks my artery, it blocks my vein, and the bleeding gets lower and lower until the medical help arrives. I can be saved. And this is the basic advice our moms give to us, right? And so instead of just sitting there and crying, you need to make the next step. You need to stop that bleeding. You need to stop crying. Okay, that a setback has hit you, now what, I have worked for this dream for years and it suddenly vanished in one night. You don't have to cry, you have to find a solution. Another thing about setback is what my mom did to me when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I fell down on stairs. The stairs were kind of differently leveled, so a stair is like this, the next stair would be like this, and the again stair would be like this. And I was just rushing up and down, playing with my friends. And when I was going upstairs, I fell down onto a stair ahead. And that sharp edge of the stair went right here. And so I was just millimeterly saved from getting hurt into my eyes. And I got kind of here. You see the structure? Okay, you see the weird structure. So that happened to me when I was a kid. I instantly went crying to my mom. And what did my mom do is, she got a handful of turmeric, first slapped me. I was like in shock. Mom, like at this point I want sympathy. Okay, I want to cry. I want to like enjoy. Okay, and you are kind of making me suffer even more. Like a kid who is crying, you kind of do things to kind of cheer him up. You kind of do things to make him more enjoyable. Instead, you're slapping me. And she slapped me, and then I suddenly went quiet mode. And she literally put a handful of turmeric right here. She made me close my eyes and put it right here. Now, what luckily happened is, turmeric is a very great antiseptic, but at the same time, it's equally as hurtful as salt. So it's very, very insane amount of burning, but it also is very effective as an antiseptic that you can get at your home like this. So at that point, there's one thing I realized is crying will get you nowhere. Crying. If I would have cried and just bleed out from here, I would have to get stitches. Okay, and that's even worse pain than getting those turmeric shots. So that made me realize that sometimes it's better to stop crying to get to a practical solution. Now, the next thing is a bit later in the phase of your setback. Now, the setback has either hit you or kind of you have avoided it by stopping the bleeding. But let's say that setback hits you, or even like setback avoids you. The next step you do is the first step is to stop bleeding. The next step is to analyze it, to get into an interrogation with yourself with whatever happened to me. And the biggest problem with kind of analyzing your setback and analyzing your failure is failures are kind of defined. You know where you went wrong, you know what it is, and you have a practical answer to it. But when it comes to setbacks, you'll just answer them as this was my bad day, this is just bad luck, I'm not God's favorite child, I was born to fail, God doesn't like me. You come up with these kind of answers. You never come up with a practical answer when we are talking about setbacks, because come on, you worked your entire life and then it just vanished away a night before due to some food you ate. And that's where I say that the answers should be more practical. And how do you come up at more practical answers? The first thing is vanish away that idea that you are not God's favorite child. Okay, just move that idea for a second. Now just consider that there's no kind of thing as luck. So where did you practically go wrong? Shouldn't you have been more careful about what you eat a day before your race, a day before your exams? You should be careful that you should be, half an hour early at the exam center, because now if you are exactly point to point on time, you might get stuck into traffic before reaching your exam hall, or before kind of getting into that next place where you want to be. You can be stuck with so many possibilities, and life is unpredictable. So if you are really keeping the scope bigger for those unpredictable things to happen, you might face a setback. So whenever you prepare for your big goal and when you are so close to achieving it, the biggest thing that you have to understand is keeping those unpredictable things as less as possible. So even if it goes wrong somewhere or the other, you can back it up instantly. So one of these things happened to me in one of my exam centers is I forgot my print. Okay, and so my dad was so intelligent that he has at least got five prints, okay, with my handprint on everyone. So he instantly got me another one and I got inside. So these are the things you have to be careful. You have to keep those unpredictable scope of things that can happen that might go wrong very less, so that even if something goes wrong you can instantly back it up. Okay, and you have to find your answer. Why is that? Was I lazy? Was I less careful? You will always get a practical answer. But you have to keep your I'm not God's favorite child mind aside. Okay, and you have to think practically, you have to think logically. What was the thing that went wrong? Shouldn't I be more careful? Because obviously, when I'm going to an exam hall, there are going to be so many people coming to that same exam hall. So obviously, the road going there will be blocked, will be with full of traffic. So isn't it my fault that I had to go 2 hours early from my house to the exam center? Because we might face traffic. And my dad is very good at this. He does every possible unpredictable thing before I give my exam. So if I even miss something, he already has 10 different copies ready with him. So shout out to my dad. He's literally the most perfect guy I have ever seen in my life. And I want to be like him. So the third step you ever take whenever you have kind of faced setback or you kind of slightly avoided setback is my dad used to scold me. The day, I forgot my sheet. Obviously, he had 5 sheets, so he gave me another one. But he scolded me as hell that night. After giving my exam, he's scolding me that you have to be careful. And this is the thing that kind of stuck in my head. And that's the third point is you have to keep it stuck somewhere. You might face the downfall, you might never face these setbacks, but you have to keep them intact so that you kind of conclude the possibilities of how many unpredictable things can happen. If I have never written it down that tomorrow is this thing, and I have to be careful that last time when I gave this thing, last time when I did this thing, this went wrong. So when yesterday my cup break down and I went into a breakdown, I gave myself a very good answer. That was my fault that even after having a wet hand, that cup just slipped out of my hand and broke down in two halves. It was my fault, right? There is no this God, there is no this nature thing coming into your personal practical life. You can get answers. So the reason why you need to build a rapport is so that you don't create these bad luck symptoms again and again in your life and you can decrease them. Now, as you have talked about almost all of the things, now the biggest thing comes is what if you have the face, kind of face this setback? Then what? Like the guy just lost his race due to a food poisoning. What's the next step? Now, there can be two things. He can again go for the same thing, or he can kind of create a semicolon at that point. Setbacks are never a full stop. Setbacks might feel to us humans like they are the full stop, end, story ends here, the end. But instead, setbacks are like semicolons. They put a semicolon so that you can continue the story. The story is now in your hands. Okay, God has given you the full control. You have passed his exam. Now God has given you the self-control to control your own journey. He has considered you capable enough to, now that you will be able to take your decisions, he has given the thread in your hands. Continue wherever you want to take your life's horse, you can take him wherever. And so the best thing about setbacks is they can create the best comebacks. And the worst thing about setbacks is you always think that setback is the end and it just is the full stop in the story. The reason I'm saying semicolon is this thing that the exam guy who just was not able to get into exam hall, okay, suddenly starts to kind of cry for 2 weeks, but then he gets back up, he creates a video on what are the things you should never miss before going to exam center. Boomed, gets millions of views. If that runner guy suddenly starts his own journey where he shows that look how I failed, but now I'm going to again participate in that race and I'm going to win that. And if he wins the race, he'll be the most cheered guy in that race. So the things are you can convert these setbacks. I'm just giving you the basic examples, okay? You can convert the setbacks into something that's way beyond what you have thought in your life. As I said, setbacks are semicolon. Now you can write your own story with your own hands. There's no one stopping you. You had a goal, you tried to achieve it, put a semicolon. Let's see where life takes you, and now the life is in your hand. So now you can write the story. Now you can check whether you are going up and down. Now you can control those up and downs. And as you have built a rapport, now you can even control your bad luck, what's your good luck. It's now in your hand. So kind of think like these setbacks are such a great opportunity that God has given the entire thread of that horse you are riding on in your life in your hands. It's now controlled by you. And that's why remember that whenever setback kind of arises in your life, it's not to bring you down. It's to build you up. It's to build you in a human that has never been formed before. And remember, I don't know if you believe in God, if you believe in there's a higher entity or not. You should believe by the way. I'll say you one thing that God never tastes, sorry, God never tests his children who don't work hard. God will only test those children who show him his exceptional skills. And he tests not to make you fail. The tests have never been the source of failures or success. The test has ever been a source to kind of get a graph that have you grown or not. A test proves that how much you have grown. If you are able to handle these setbacks, just think what level of a human you have become. Just think of what maturity level you have reached. You are no more a part of the small scales like, oh, I'm bad luck today, I'm facing bad luck. You fell down, you crashed your car, you fell down from your bike, okay, something XYZ, this very random unlucky moment happened. And you see an answer to yourself that I was just riding rash today. Have you ever said that answer to yourself? I have just said that, oh, it was his fault who was coming from the front. It was his fault, his lights were too high. But guess what? It was always your fault. And so these bad lucks are in your control. Okay. And you can further modify them. So get from back from these setbacks and learn new things in your life, develop yourself and stay safe. Keep your mom and dad safe. Don't do anything that troubles your mother and change it. Bye bye.